So often we hear parents remark that all their kid needs is a push in the right direction to be successful. But it's really important to know how to push, and when you should back off. In his new book, Positive Pushing, How to Raise a Successful and Happy Child, Dr. Jim Taylor advises parents on how to motivate their kids to seek out success in a nurturing environment. Dr. Taylor, good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
You know, we have heard so much about pushing our kids, and to the point where, at this point, it's gotten a bad rap. It's not so much the pushing, but it's the quality and how and when you push, right?
Right. I make a distinction between old-style pushing and positive pushing. Old-style pushing was very often negative, controlling, angry, and demeaning, and that caused kids to be resentful and angry at their parents.
So, at this point, you know, we want our kids to do their best. You know, here in Manhattan, in New York City, you know, there's all this pressure to get into the right school, and a lot of that pushing is pushed toward that. Is that now prevalent? We used to think it's just here in New York, maybe Los Angeles. Is that now the case all across the country?
Well, I think it is. I live in San Francisco and I travel all over the country, and these issues are very important everywhere, and I think largely because of the economic uncertainty of our times. And I think the key for positive pushing is that it's loving, it's encouraging, it's positive, obviously, and it shows respect for the child and encourages them to go in a direction that they can find happiness and success.
In your book, you talk about the 3 pillars of successful achievers. What are those 3 pillars?
Well, for years, I searched for a common thread among children who were happy and successful, and I finally discovered the 3 that led to success and happiness. And the great thing about them is that they are not inborn. They're qualities that parents have the power to develop in their kids. And the 3 are self-esteem, ownership, and emotional mastery.
Okay, we start with self-esteem. Parents can make the mistake of praising, in trying to build up self-esteem, you praise your kid no matter what. That's not the way you do it.
No, it isn't. In fact, what that creates are sort of needy kids who need to be loved. And one of the neglected aspects of self-esteem is that children need to develop a sense of competence, a sense that they're effective people, that they can act on the world.
And that they can change the outcome of things that are within their control.
Right. One of the most key lessons is that they see that if they do good things happen. If they do bad things happen. And importantly, if they do nothing, nothing happens.
Now, ownership.
Ownership is the connection that children have with the activities that they participate in. A child with ownership loves what he or she does.
And when you talk about ownership, does that mean taking ownership or responsibility for the bad things as well as the good things?
You can't have one without the other. You can't accept responsibility for success without accepting responsibility for failure. And unfortunately in our society it's so much blame everybody else. It's not the child's fault because that might hurt their self-esteem.
So they're all linked.
They're completely all linked together.
And for example, emotional mastery, what do you mean by that?
That's really the final piece of the puzzle, and that involves children's ability to step back, gain perspective on their emotions, and not be overwhelmed by them. And 3 very common negative emotions that children experience are frustration, anger, and sadness. And for children to be able to step back and find a solution to the problem that's causing the negative emotions.
You say there are red flags a parent should look out for. What are a couple of those?
Well, the great thing about my red flags, they're in every chapter, is they give parents a quick and easy way to figure out whether they're on track with their kids or not. And many parents will read my red flags and say, oh my gosh, that's me, or that's my child. And more than anything, red flags are a call to action. A common red flag for children is performance anxiety. Now, it's natural for kids to get a little nervous before a competition or a school test, but when the anxiety overwhelms them, they become so nervous that they can't perform. This tells me that they're terrified of failure.
And as a parent, how do you help overcome that for them?
Well, by not making love conditional on failure. So many parents put so much pressure on their kids that kids believe that their parents will only love them when they succeed, and they'll withdraw love when they fail.
Well, there's a lot of good information in the book, and for anybody raising a kid today, it's a good read.
Thank you very much.
All right, Dr. Jim Taylor, thank you. And if you'd like to read an excerpt from Positive Pushing, visit our website at today.msnbc.com.